how I became fluent in Spanish in just 30 days. Well, fluency is really just a step above being fully conversational. Now, I've lived in Medellin for almost 16 years at the time of this recording. I relocated here as an expat in April of 2008. But before coming to Medellin, I lived on the Caribbean coast of Colombia in a city called Barranquilla for a few months. Now, when I moved to Colombia from the Bronx, I was already fully conversational Spanish just through self-study. I was one of those guys you see in New York who always wanted to date a Dominican woman. So that was my motivation to learn Spanish. So if you're already completely conversational in Spanish, all you have to do is spend 4 or 5 months or even less time in a Spanish-speaking country to actually become fluent. So now the question is, how do you learn to become fully conversational in Spanish? And ideally, how to do it as quickly and as easily as possible. And I'm going to answer that question in this video. But before we get to that, click the subscribe button in the lower right-hand corner and then click the notifications bell. That way we can help you in your journey to achieve all your learning Spanish goals. Now, if you're watching this video, it's safe to assume that you do not speak and understand conversational Spanish with complete confidence. And the reason why you do not speak conversational Spanish with complete confidence is not your fault. I'll repeat that because I want it to sink in. I want you to know it's not your fault. You're not the problem. It's not because you don't have the skills. Trust me, you have the skills and you have the talent to learn to speak conversational Spanish with complete confidence. The problem is a method that you're using. More than likely, you're using an app that was not designed to enable you to actually speak and understand conversational Spanish. More than likely, you're using an app that was only designed to help you learn some Spanish vocabulary and learn how to read and write in Spanish and nothing more. Maybe you've learned a decent amount of vocabulary and maybe you've achieved streaks of weeks, months, or even years from using an app. But instead of giving you what it takes to actually speak and understand conversational Spanish, the app gave you a false sense of security. And in some cases, not only have those apps wasted your time, they've also wasted your money. And if you haven't already found this out, you'll definitely find out soon when you try to speak to a normal, everyday Spanish speaker. Normal, everyday Spanish speaker meaning someone who is not a Spanish instructor or someone who does not have a job in a tourist industry such as hotels, airlines, etc. Because Spanish speakers in those industries are accustomed to speaking Spanish to foreigners extra slowly and extra clearly so you understand everything. And when you have that conversation with a native Spanish speaker, it will be your wake-up call because you'll finally realize you don't know nada when it comes to speaking Spanish. Pero no te preocupes, but don't worry. I know your disappointment. I know your frustration because I know what it's like to be in your place. In fact, I was in the same situation less than 5 years ago when I was trying to learn Brazilian Portuguese using the most popular foreign language learning app. You know which app I'm talking about. The app everyone uses. I'd accomplished a streak of daily study of over 2 years, and I decided to hire a Brazilian Portuguese instructor to take online classes. And after our third class, she asked me in English, "Patrick, how long have you been studying Brazilian Portuguese?" And I asked her to take a guess and tell me how long she thought. And she said, "I don't know, Patrick, maybe 3 weeks or just 2 weeks." Now, I was devastated because I had been studying Brazilian Portuguese each and every day for more than 2 years using the same app that nearly everyone else used. So I asked her, "Why do you think I've only been studying Brazilian Portuguese for only 2 weeks?" And she said to me, for 2 reasons. One, she said, my accent and pronunciation were that of someone who had only been studying Brazilian Portuguese for a couple of weeks. Or to use her exact words, my Portuguese sounded more like a machine than a native speaker. And 2, she told me, I struggled to understand everything she said to me in Portuguese. I was so disappointed that I almost quit learning Portuguese, and all kind of doubts entered my mind. I asked myself, do I even have the skill to learn Portuguese? Maybe I'm just not smart enough to learn a foreign language. But then I thought about it. Obviously, I had the skills because I had already taught myself to speak Spanish fluently. So I wasn't the problem. The problem was the method I was using to learn Portuguese. I felt like the app I was using had let me down. But instead of quitting, I decided to do some research about the app I was using. And according to what I found out from doing some Google research, the app I was using used machine learning to build synthetic voices. So that explained why my accent and pronunciation sounded more like a machine than a native speaker. And as I mentioned, my Portuguese instructor also thought I had been studying Portuguese for only 2 weeks because I could hardly understand anything she said to me in Portuguese. And further research uncovered that the primary purpose of that app that I was using was to teach reading and writing and not speaking and listening. So that means it was not designed to teach the learner how to engage in a conversation, which was the whole reason I was learning Portuguese. I wanted to speak and understand conversational Brazilian Portuguese, but most importantly, I wanted to engage in deep, meaningful conversations with native speakers. But you know what? I'm glad that unpleasant experience happened to me with a Portuguese instructor because it was a turning point in my journey to learn another foreign language. It was a wake-up call for me. And that day I realized that if I continued to use the same app to learn Portuguese, then I'd never reach my goal of speaking Brazilian Portuguese with the same confidence that I speak Spanish with. So that day, I decided to reverse engineer the method I used to learn Spanish. And then I created my own method and my own program to learn Brazilian Portuguese. It's called Learning Portuguese Like Crazy. And it's based on my system called Learning Spanish Like Crazy. And with both programs, I've only used native speakers to help you develop native-like pronunciation and accent, so you don't sound like some type of machine with a synthetic accent. Since the release of Learning Portuguese Like Crazy, and on the day I'm recording this video, we sold exactly 15,349 copies of Learning Portuguese Like Crazy on Amazon and Audible. But that's not what brings me the most joy. What brought me the most joy is that when I went to Brazil for the first time, on my arrival, when I spoke to the locals in Portuguese, they couldn't believe I'd never been to Brazil before in my life. They asked me questions like, "De onde você é? Você é brasileiro? Where are you from? Are you Brazilian?" And I always reply, "No, eu não sou brasileiro, eu sou americano. No, I'm not Brazilian, I'm American." And they always replied, "Você fala português muito bem. You speak Portuguese very well." An Uber driver even invited me to his house for a barbecue. I was so happy. So I want to share with you the same system that will enable you to speak and understand Spanish with complete confidence. Now, before I continue, I want to let you know something. You don't have to believe anything I'm telling you. In fact, I'm not even asking you to believe me. In the description of this video, you'll find the link to Amazon or Audible, and you can click that link and go to Audible or Amazon.com and see the success stories from hundreds and hundreds of Audible and Amazon customers and see what they have to say about learning Spanish like crazy. And if you're still not interested and you want to continue sounding like a machine when you speak Spanish, that's fine with me. That's on you if you want to continue to spend weeks, months, or even years glued to your phone and only learning to read and write Spanish. And it's also your choice if you want to continue using an app that will never give you the confidence to engage in a deep, meaningful conversation with a native Spanish speaker. And you'll continue to struggle to understand and communicate with your average, everyday native Spanish speaker. With the Learning Spanish Like Crazy system, you're getting 2 learning methods in one. There's the all audio version that you get from Audible or Amazon that lets you master Spanish on the go, like when you're driving or exercising or cooking. And then there's a bonus video version that we've included that you can watch on your laptop, phone, or tablet, just in case you're visual learning. You can even accelerate your learning by using both methods. In the description of this video, I'll let you know how to claim your bonus video version of Learning Spanish Like Crazy. And if for some reason you're still not interested, and you have no desire to become proficient at speaking and understanding conversational Spanish, and you have absolutely no interest in holding deep, meaningful conversations with native Spanish speakers, and you wish to continue learning Spanish with an app that was not designed to help you to understand and communicate with everyday Spanish speakers, again, that's okay with me. It's your choice. But just to show my appreciation for watching this video, I want to invite you to our bi-weekly live and interactive webinar taught by a native Spanish speaker from Colombia. During the webinar, we open up the line so you can practice your Spanish with the webinar's Spanish instructor. You'll find a link to register in the description of this video. Hasta luego!